the needle that gives you the most amount of flexibility. Okay? And the other sort of important thing that you also need to keep in mind when it comes to doing hem stitches, they must be even. Okay? No big, little, nothing. I mean, that's one of the things. That's why we make you guys, all of you do your lab samplers. It's not only that the spacing's off, it's that they're irregular. It's like, no, you have this much to sew, make the stitches look as much the same as possible. Okay? And that's what I'm going to expect here, is to try your best. Now, what's going to help us do our best? Well, for those of you who need to cheat, obviously, using a disappearing pen is a really good way to help control your stitches. Okay? So if you need a little bit of assistance, here we go. My first sample here is going to be number 7. And I do have a needle here that's all threaded that seems to be attached to like all the other. I get them all done and then all of a sudden I unthread every needle as I go. Okay, so when I'm looking at the instructions here, okay, I'm sort of looking at the sort of distance here that I want to keep in mind. When we do the hem stitch, okay, we want the stitches to kind of go no further into the fold of the fabric than 3/16 of an inch. If you do more, it has a tendency to be susceptible to breakage. Okay? So that's one thing that we want to watch out for. Okay? And the thing about it is that these stitches should be, again, approximately about every quarter of an inch or scant quarter of an inch apart. Okay? So I have my needle. I'm going to come in here. I've got everything. I'm going to be sewing this from the right hand from the right side to the left side. Again, those of you who are left-handed, please go the other way. That's you and you, or you two. Okay, so we're going to start here, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring up. You want to bring up your needle from the inside of the hem like that, so that your knot is nicely disguised underneath the fold of the fabric. Look how pretty that's already looking. Isn't that great? That is great. Okay, so now what I usually like to do on this thing is also I like to do an anchor stitch. Okay, in terms of that, just because I like to just have a little bit. It's not absolutely necessary, but it is kind of a good thing to want to do. Okay, so when we sew this, where's my completed sample? Not that one. That one, definitely not that one, definitely not that one. Oh no, not that one. There it is, there. So as we can see, the way it gets its name, called the slant hem stitch, which we also call the whip stitch. Okay, that is kind of a very theatrical term, by the way, whip stitch. It's not really in the fashion industry as much. Whipping is actually overcasting, so it's a little bit different. There's actually a whip stitch where you take 2 finished edges and you whip it on the edge. That's sort of the high-end fashion thing. But we call it in theater hem stitch. You go on film and TV, it's called a whip stitch. So that's what we have a tendency to call it. So we want the stitches to have the appearance of a diagonal like this going across the fabric. So basically, I'm going to come here like this, and I'm going to take a very tiny bite, like a yarn, of my fabric just above the folded edge of my hem allowance. And then I want to bring the needle almost straight back down into the fold of the fabric like that, producing a nice diagonal stitch like that. Okay? So here I'm going to move over again, grab a bite, and if you have to, do it in two-part process. Grab it first like this, and then bring the needle underneath like that, making certain that the needle is not showing, or you don't see the needle going through here, like that, like this, boom. Okay? Then once you get those done, then you start to go here like this.
Is it almost like a basting stitch, but you go like through the thing?
Well, it's not really a basting stitch. Oh, that was wrong. Oh, look what happens when you do something wrong. What do you do when you do something wrong? Oh, that's right. You pull out the stitch, right? That's right. Did he do that intentionally?
Yes, he was teaching.
There you go. He was teaching. Okay. Okay. So, and I mean, Yeah, I guess it's sort of like that in terms of the basting stitch, except for that with a basting stitch, it's more like an uneven basting stitch because you're grabbing just a tiny bit and then going through like that. Okay, so we're coming here like this. You grab a little bit like that, and then you come here like that. And again, if you have that little line, you can see how that sort of benefits you.
Yeah.
Okay, now how to finish this stitch? A little bit tricky because you could finish it with not. If you can, like if you come here like this, you can grab a little bite of the fabric like this, and then pull your needle through this. Then you can come here like this, flip it over like that, and then in the fold right here, you can come here and knot off your thread like that, so that when it's done, you don't have a big old clunky knot like that. Okay? Keeps it nice and neat. Okay? It's a really great stitch. Once you master this stitch, it's a pretty quick stitch. It's good for a lot of variety of things. It isn't possibly my favorite hemming stitch. It's really not. I kind of don't like it because you have a lot of thread showing. Now, these first three were ugly, but look how beautiful those 1, 2, 3, right there. Gorgeous, gorgeous. But it works out very nicely. It's really, I like it, especially if you've got fabrics that have a lot of I don't want to say pliability, but they have a lot of give, like they move and stuff like that. The whip stitch kind of moves, whereas the vertical hem stitch is very good for nicely tightly woven fabrics, which is probably more what I work on. So that's why I have a tendency to like this stitch much better.